I'm beginning to resent the fact that we beat Brighton at this point, because it feels like that's just destined us to this, like, I want to say mediocrity, but it's not even that. It's less than mediocrity. These performances every week, it feels like this is all we can look forward to, is this lack of creativity. The only chance we ever have of winning a game is when the team has so much more of the ball that we then don't have to worry about what we do on the ball, because we'll just potentially catch them on the counter, get a bit lucky, and just get a goal against the run of play. Like, that's the best we have to look forward to at the moment. If we hadn't have beaten Brighton, I think there is a possibility that we wouldn't be destined to this at the moment. And like, I wouldn't take it back, because it does genuinely mean that we might actually, it looks like that win could have helped us avoid relegation at this point. But like, a lot of people at the time thought that that win might have been what took us towards potential Europe, and that's gone now. So there's going to be a few people in the comments, right, that say, I get it every week at the moment, people saying I'm being negative or whatever else. And it's like, I'm not being negative. This is just the reality. Like, I don't understand what you want me to do. I don't understand what you're watching. If you're thinking I'm being negative, I don't understand what you're watching and what videos you want me to make. We are not playing well. There is nothing about us that is playing well. Even when we've beaten Brighton, we didn't play well. Even when people tried to masquerade that loss against Arsenal as something to take positives from, it wasn't. We are not playing well every week. There was 20 minutes or so at the start of the Forest game, which, by the way, is something that we've always done. We've always played relatively well for 20 minutes and then fallen off, right? That's something that, when we actually had standards at this football club, was not acceptable, and we used to complain about it all the time. Now, right, if Anderson hadn't have scored that goal and we'd have gone on to win this game, people had gone on about, I actually saw it at half time, even though there'd been a change made that made us be on the back foot for the second half of the first half. People were talking at half time about that first 20 minutes as if it was something to take positives from. We've always been okay for 20 minutes because Eddie Howe's Athletics Club is quite good in the first 20 minutes because it's about athleticism. Then, naturally, they get tired, no one has any technical ability, and it all goes to shit. But as I said, people are going to call me negative. It is what it is. I don't really care, right? Because realistically, I'm actually desperately trying to look for positives. And the problem is, this is how bad it is. I can't actually find them. Just as a case in example, before this game, right, I saw the team sheet. So I saw the lineup. I didn't see how it was going to be set up. I just saw the lineup. And I wrote a tweet. You can go back and check on my X account. I wrote a tweet, X post, whatever you want to call it. And I genuinely wrote, I was like, I've criticized Eddie a lot over the past few weeks. This is how I thought he was going to set up. And I quite liked the lineup. It made a lot of sense to me. So I was like, credit where it's due. He's changed the system. He's brought some of the players in that we wanted to see. Credit where it's due. Like, well done, Eddie, right? I actually thought he was silencing some of the criticisms, right? And then we actually see how the team is set up. I genuinely just couldn't believe it. I'm like, all of these players, you can actually get into a system like I put on my picture of what I thought it was going to be. I thought, perfect. Voltemada and Asula up top. Both of them are quite aerially capable. You've got your three in defence. Dan Burn is now actually playing centre-back, which, like, you know, he's probably not our best centre-back, but he's quite decent at centre-back. Can't stand him at left-back, quite decent at centre-back, right? Then 3 in midfield. I think Ramsey should be playing more, but, like, I don't mind it, right? Tonali, Bruno, Joe Linton, fine. And you've got Lewis Hall, finally back in the team, buzzing about that. I thought he was going to be a left wing-back. And you have Jacob Murphy, who I thought, you know, we've seen him play right wing-back a fair few times. He does seem to track back. You know, other than the odd occasions here and there, he does seem to track back. Does seem to get involved defensively, and then he's great at putting a cross in. So that's all you really need from a right wing back. So I thought, like, perfect. That makes loads of sense. I'm actually quite happy with that. Again, not particularly happy Pope was in, but regardless, I was like, you know what? It's good enough. I'm happy enough with that lineup that I can get behind it, right? But as I said, at this point, I didn't know how it was going to be set up. Gets to the game, sees the lineup, and we've got Lewis Hall playing right back, which I'd correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think he's ever played before at all, just to accommodate keeping Dan Burn at left back. Why? We've got Joe Linton playing left wing. We've got Voltemada in a 10 when he's actually a striker. Like, there's just so much that just, I actually genuinely had a belief, and I was like quite excited to find some sort of positive for me to get behind. Like, I am genuinely looking for things to get behind here. And that's where it's just like, when people are like in the comments asking me to be positive, I'm like, how? What are you seeing? What are you actually seeing to give you positivity? Because it seems to me very much like the only people that are managing to have any positivity at the moment are people doing it purely based on sentimental things like he won a cup and whatever else, because there is actually, what you're seeing week to week, there is absolutely nothing to be positive about. And this is sort of where the term happy clapper comes from, because realistically, if there is nothing to actually be positive about from the week to week, then that's essentially what you are. And I don't mean it in like a derogatory way, but the idea of a happy clapper is someone who sits there happy and clapping regardless of what's going on in front of them. Like the club could be literally going into administration and they'd just be sat there going like that's what I'm seeing at the moment. Like, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying, you know, the way I'm seeing things is gospel. All I'm saying, like, I'm genuinely asking the question, what are you seeing? If you're remaining positive, what are you seeing right now on a week to week that's giving you anything to get behind? Like, I don't want to know about him winning a trophy or anything like that. I genuinely need an answer to this, because if you want positivity from me, you're going to have to point out where I should be being positive, because I can't fucking see it. I'm trying to see it and I can't see it for the fucking life of me. Like, this is coming from someone who spent a good sort of like half of this season, like longer than a lot of the people on YouTube. I spent a long time trying to defend Eddie. Like, I completely understand the idea of trying to have patience, right? As I said, that's what I did for the majority of the season. I saw the problems at the start of the season, but I thought, right, let's just be patient. Let's not jump on this straight away. Let's see if this can turn around, because we've had the problems for the last 3 or 4 years, but somehow Eddie had managed to turn them round every time, right? But the thing is, every time he managed to turn it round, it was gradually worse and worse every time. Like, we had some hiccups during the season that we qualified for Champions League, but he very quickly managed to turn it round and keep us on a good track. The following year, when we were in the Champions League, again, we had some bumps in the road, which I do think were largely down to decisions that Eddie Howe made. And then fortunately towards the end of the season, you know, things went kind of okay, and we just missed out on Champions League football. So we went on a nice little run of form right at the end of the season there. And again, obviously last year we had, you know, we had a poor run of form for a while, and then we had to sort of like fight tooth and nail to get Champions League football. And realistically, we actually failed. So we failed to do it. Man United just did it for us. So like, let's not pretend everything has just been hunky-dory for the past 4 years under Eddie Howe. Like, it hasn't. It categorically hasn't. People say, oh, one bad season. It is not one bad season. I don't know if any of you read through the comments and see some of the things that I say in comments in response to people. I want to stop talking about this with Eddie Howe, but it's grinding away at me so much, because like, I don't want to sit here and watch this every week. And I can't for the life of me understand how he can still be in a job. Like, genuinely, where I'm at right now, like, when things generally start going wrong, when they've started going wrong over the last 4 years, like I've said, you start to, first of all, you just look at things like, oh, maybe if we bring this player back in, or, you know, change the system a little bit, change the formation, you know, these are the first things you sort of look at as to potential like solutions that you could find for the problems that we're currently facing, right? At this point, right, I did get excited to see Voltemada and Hall back in the team, but realistically, I don't know why I'm getting excited, because where I'm actually at is that I genuinely don't think, no matter which players he puts in the team and what formation he puts them in, I just don't think it makes a difference. Realistically, I just think that we are trying to go towards a possession style of football in which we play good quality football on the ball, and Eddie Howe can't coach that. Eddie Howe, we have never played good football on the ball under Eddie Howe. When we qualified for the Champions League the first time, we just suffocated teams with a press and just on transition caught them out. And I'm not saying that can't work for teams as a style. It can work. It worked for Jurgen Klopp for a long time. But the difference being that Jurgen Klopp could also coach his team on the ball. So when they did have a lot of possession, they could still win games against teams that allowed them the ball. They had creativity, passages of play. They could string more than 3 fucking passes together. Like, Eddie Howe's philosophy is so just not fit for where we are trying to go. Honestly, he could literally put the exact lineup that I want him to do, and it still wouldn't give me belief that we're actually going to win the game. And just quickly there, on the topic of changing formation, right? This is what drives me insane, is there's been some sort of PR done to make people believe that he's actually changing formation here. Like, I'm not sure if he's called up fucking Sky Sports News or something, and all the apps that you get your lineups on, where they've started saying that he's using now a 4-2-3-1. Because, like, yeah, to a certain extent, there's a slight difference in that Voltemada's now been told to not play as a left-sided 8, and he is now playing as a bit more of a 10, so he's not really being given any defensive responsibilities, which, wow, mental, telling a striker to play closer to striker than midfield. Crazy idea. But it's not a 4-2-3-1, right? A 4-2-3-1, your 2 wingers, so in this game, mental, it was Joe Linton and obviously Jacob Murphy, your wingers would have to be playing sort of somewhat central, right? The idea is that it brings them in closer to your 10, so they're sort of like left attacking mid, right attacking mid, and then they're, as I say, they're not hugging the touchline, right? Here's Jacob Murphy's heat map. How is that a 4-2-3-1? That is a winger. That is a touchline hugging winger, right? And Joe Linton's does look a bit better, to be fair. That's not because it's coached in because, as you know, they've been told to change the formation or anything like that. That's just because that's how Joe Linton plays. Because, just as a casing example, here's a heat map from a random game a couple of years ago. I just quickly scrolled through, found a random game where Joe Linton was listed as the left winger in the game. It was against Brentford. So Joe Linton just runs around everywhere, right? That's what Joe Linton does. So I'm not really buying this bollocks that this is, you know, an actual proper 4-2-3-1. This is the usual 4-3-3. The only thing that's really changed is that instead of being like a flat 4-3-3, it's gone to, if any of you have ever played FIFA, I think it was 4-3-3 in brackets 4. It was my favourite formation whenever I played Ultimate Team. 4-3-3 with the central attacking midfielder. That's what we're playing now. We are playing still a 4-3-3. It is not a 4-2-3-1. So, like, genuinely, as I say, people call me negative. I'm looking for positives. And then, as I say, we had Lewis Hall at right back, Voltemada in a 10, Joe Linton left wing. For some reason, we have Asula up top against a team that like to give you possession. It baffles me. Does Eddie Howe, or does anyone at the club watch the teams we come up against and think, right, this is how I'm going to change the team to exploit the weaknesses of the team we're up against? Because Asula's best work is done running in behind when there's space in behind an opposition. If a team is giving you possession of the ball, they want to do that to you, right? They want to try and counter you. So you don't need someone who can get in behind the no space in behind. You need someone who can take the ball in tight areas and then bring other players into play around them and just play good football. Asula is fast, athletic, still quite raw. He's not that. Like, I'm not trying to shit on Asula. I'd have happily seen him on the right wing. That's where I think he should be playing. But having him lead the line against a team that's going to be sat back trying to give you the ball just doesn't make any sense. And then, obviously, as I say, just trying to shoehorn all these players into, it is still a 4-3-3. Like, I can't get my head around it. And then what's even worse as well is you're going to get people saying, oh, well, this was a Forest side that, you know, are like unbeaten in their last however many or whatever. But the thing is, it's not though, is it? It was a Forest side that's ravaged by injury. Like, a lot of their star players missing out the squad. And even a Forest side ravaged by injury that have been down in the relegation battle for pretty much the whole season, we still couldn't beat them. You heard people making the excuse for Eddie all the time about him not having enough time on the training ground. This was also a Forest side who just got humped 4-0 midweek by Villa. So not only have they had less time on the training ground, but also they're going to be going into that game very low on morale, very low on confidence, right? They've just been humped 4-0 and knocked out of a semi-final. And realistically, they don't really have anything left to play for because they are more than likely safe in terms of the relegation battle. Like, you'd to a certain extent understand it if they were in the thick of a relegation battle fighting for their life, but they're not. Like, yeah, they could do with a point just to make it certain, but like, they're not fighting for their life anymore. They're like, We could do with a couple points. It's a bit cagey, not fighting for the life. Like, I don't mean any kind of like negativity towards Forest here. Like, I think, you know, they're starting to look like they're having a really good sort of end to the season. But take that Forest team that went out against us on Sunday, right? And on paper, have a look at our team. How many of their players actually get into our squad, like on paper, in terms of the quality of the actual squad, right? Elliot Anderson, probably that's about it. Actually, no, I'd probably take Matt Sells as well over Nick Pope, which is very depressing considering we had Matt Sells in the Championship. So I'm currently looking at players that we had in the Championship and saying, I would rather have them than certain players in our squad now, 5 years into this magical PIF project where we're going to go and win everything. I'm actually envious at times of some of the players that Mike Ashley bought us in the Championship. There is no situation, scenario, or anything where I should be sat here saying that there's players that we had when we were in the Championship that I would rather have in our team now. And that's not even exaggerating. I think the majority of our fan base would agree as well. Genuinely, over the past sort of like couple of weeks, since obviously apparently it's been said that Eddie Howe is going to be staying, right? I've had people saying, oh, well, he's staying anyway, so just get behind it, right? I mean this in the most respectable way possible, because some of the people that have said that to me, like, I genuinely, you know, some of them seem to be really sound in my comments. Like, you know, some of them comment, you know, consistently, and I want to try and be as respectable as I can. But at the same time, also, fuck off anyone telling me that that is what I have to get behind, because I will get behind when I believe there's something that I can actually get behind. As I said earlier in the video, if whatever you're seeing, let me know. Whatever you're seeing week to week, not from the past, not the cup win, not that we qualified for the Champions League, let me know what you're seeing week to week for me to get behind, and by all means, I'll do it. But until then, fuck off telling me what I need to get behind, because there is, like, I'm seeing nothing. There is nothing for me to get behind. Remember at the start of the video, I said something about the first 20 minutes, people, like, if we'd have won that game, people would have praised that first 20 minutes, right? Also, after that first 20 minutes, what happened is Vítor Pereira, he had his keeper go down, and then there was changes made, right? I saw people complaining about the fact that he'd done that because that, you know, we were playing so well for 20 minutes. Obviously, Matt Sells went down, and then it gave Vítor Pereira a chance to change things, and then obviously they then went on to be better, right? People complained about that, right? What that is, that's just called in-game management, but people didn't like that that happened, right? Now, here's a crazy concept, right? What Matt Sells did in that moment to allow Vítor Pereira the opportunity to get his team around and do in-game management, right? What he did there, crazy concept. Eddie Howe is also allowed to do that as well. He could also get Nick Pope to go down, and then he could make an in-game change, right? But even if, right, Eddie Howe is such a man of integrity, so honest, doesn't want to do something because, you know, it's sort of bending the rules a little bit. He don't want to bend the rules because he's such an honest integrity. I'm not even going to, I'll get onto the interviews later on. I'll get onto what he said after the game later on. Just for now, just for this point, he's such an honest, integral man that he don't want to have Nick Pope go down and bend the rules in that way, right? Could also maybe try do something different at half-time. That's a thought. But no, instead, Vítor Pereira is the only one that makes any changes at half-time. Eddie Howe, as usual, 61st minute, on the dot. But usually, when you're getting annoyed at a manager, right, you're looking at, like, reactivity, proactivity, like, you know, with what we've seen with Vítor Pereira there, is he's not only been reactive to what was happening in the first 20 minutes, made a change in game management, right? He's then been a bit proactive by making a change at half time and been like, not only have we kind of got back into the game, I now want to try get on top, right? Might not have worked, at least he's tried to do something, right? So he's been reactive and proactive, right? Eddie Howe, it genuinely seems like his substitution, his in-game management, it's not reactive or proactive. It seems like it's something that he's already planned before the game. Like he's like, right, so who are my 60th minute subs this week? I'll go with them two. Now, obviously, after the game, there's been, you know, the usual criticisms of Voltamada from like the journalists that are all Eddie's best mates. There's been criticisms of Lewis Hall. Again, you know, Eddie's dropped him, so the journalists have all, you know, criticised Lewis Hall. And like, yeah, maybe he could have done a bit better. for the goal, but then also shouldn't be playing right back, had just been down with an injury. I feel like if you're going to focus on anything from the game, it isn't the criticism of Lewis Hall, it isn't even the criticism of Voltemada. And like, I'm not coming on here to defend Voltemada, you know, I've had the odd comment here and there, people saying that I never criticise Voltemada. Voltemada had a bad game, okay? So there you go. Happy. I mean, he did put Asula through, and Asula fucked up the chance. That wasn't too bad, but he did fuck up the odd pass here and there, and some of his touches weren't great. So overall, not the best game, which to be honest is really crazy, because when you think about the fact that he's been playing so much recently, and you know, you'd fully expect him to be really match sharp and confident with the way that he's been treated by the manager of recent. So it's really strange that Voltemada's not had a good game there. I'm really shocked by that one. Anyway, this is the shit that I can't understand, right? One of the Geordie journos asked Eddie basically why he hadn't played Anthony Gordon, right? Obviously, Eddie had made this comment earlier in the week about Anthony Gordon being 100% committed. So, you know, there was questions as to why he hadn't been played after Eddie had made that comment. And his reasons for it were he's returned from an injury and he's looking at the team and the team is playing well, so he didn't want to make any changes. Which, like, I'm actually just blown away by. Like, I can't actually get my head round that as a response. Like, first of all, I'm not campaigning for Anthony Gordon to come back by any means, right? But when has a player coming back from an injury ever stopped Eddie Howe trying to bring them back potentially earlier than they should be, right? That's never been the case, right? Multiple times we have ended up with injuries that have turned into more injuries and more injuries because of how badly they've been managed in terms of when they've been brought back. Now, fair enough, maybe he's learned from his lesson, whatever. Realistically, I don't think that's the case. I think he's just lying. But that's not the part that really got me. The part that really, I just can't understand is the team are playing well, so you don't want to make any changes. Where am I watching the wrong team? Have I got the wrong channel on? Am I sat there watching fucking Juventus thinking, there's some black and white stripes? Because I mean, again, more reason why I'm struggling to see what the fuck I'm gonna get behind here. More reason why I'm just like, if this is what Eddie considers to be playing well, right? This is what we can look forward to. Why do people want more of this? I can't understand it. I can't get my head around it. I'm asking you, I want to know more. What are you seeing? Please, what are you seeing week to week? What is it? Because I'm not seeing it. And if you want me to be positive, show me how, because there's nothing there. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and happily clap away just because of some sentimental things that have happened in the past. Like, if we want to achieve what these owners are coming out and saying they want to achieve, then we can't just sit here and just sentimentally hold on to the past. We have to move forward, be consistently moving forward. If we stand still, we will go backwards. And we're not even standing still at the moment. We are going backwards, and people are still, for some reason, happy with it. And now we've obviously got West Ham next week, who realistically, I do actually think that's probably going to be a loss, because West Ham aren't going to try have the ball. They're going to give us more of the ball, which, as I've said, we're awful with. West Ham are fully fighting for something. They are fighting for their life at the moment. And I think they're going to have a real fire in them to get a result because of the injustice of their last result against Arsenal, because obviously it was a foul. I'm not saying it wasn't a foul. Like, by the rule book, it is a foul on David Raya. Like, I tweeted this at the time, the irony of a team whose entire season's success has been rested on set plays and putting pressure on the goalkeeper and essentially fouling the goalkeeper, like West Ham did to Raya. That's been the catalyst for all of Arsenal's success this season, and they are now getting VAR to hand them the title by not allowing West Ham to do what they have been doing all season. But anyway, onwards and upwards, or probably not upwards, to be honest, probably onwards and downwards, because I don't really have much faith for any of the games for the rest of the season, to be honest. So, as I said, if you have a reason for me to be more positive, I'd love to hear it, because I can't find any. So, yeah. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. It's all the noise for this one. Until the next one.